guys, and welcome to the Overcoming Fear Retreat. I'm so happy to have you guys with us today. We've got so many great things happening and going for you today. Once again, hi, sorry, and welcome. Please, sorry about that retreat. I'm so happy to have you guys with us. All right, so anyways, first up is me, and I'm going to be sharing with you a little bit about fear. You guys all know me by now. If you don't, I'm Joyce. I'm the host today of this, and we've got 3 amazing speakers about to come on right after me. The first things I want to tell you guys, you guys all know me, is that I'm the host today, and we've got 3 amazing speakers about to come on right after me. Grab your pens and your notebooks first. Also, if you can let us know who you are, where you're at, where you're coming in from, down in the chat. That way we know who all's here with us and able to join in. And then also, go ahead and do share this with your friends. So do a share here, a watch party, and get as many people involved, because learning to overcome your fear is better done with as many people as we can, because we're wanting to help change lives today. So, and get as many people involved, because learning to overcome your fear is better done. Also, I want everyone to know, as you're tuning into this, that anything in our lives, when we're going to try to make a difference in our lives and to change our lives, it's going to be up to you what you put into this. So to get the most out of this, you want to make sure that you're doing the lessons and that you're committed to making the changes in your life that you want to see in your life, because no matter how much we give to you, if you're not putting your all into it, then you're not going to be able to give your all to everyone else, or to be able to be the best you can be. You're not going to be able to rise up if you're not willing to put in the work and the effort. There is no quick fixes. Everything in our lives takes time, and it takes practice, and it takes consistency, guys. So nobody gets anywhere in life if we can't be consistent. We're not going to see consistent changes. We're not going to see consistent results if we're not putting in the effort and the work to get those results. So I want you to keep that in mind. If you're committed to being able to be here and to put in what it takes, then I am confident that you guys are going to get amazing results in your life. Okay? So now, with that being said, I'm going to just take a few minutes here to be able to talk to you guys some about my ideas in fear. And so fear, in my welcome video, I mentioned to you guys that fear is that we're all students of fear, and we're students of fear whether we even realize it or not. Every single person on this planet is a student of fear, whether we know it or not. And that sounds weird to say that, but it does, because if you think about the things that you're taught and the things that you hear throughout life, through the media, through your circles of friends, your colleagues, your family, you're being ingrained into fear thoughts, and they're getting programmed into our heads. So that's one of the reasons why most gurus will tell you to be careful of your thoughts and be careful of what you put into your life, because it impacts your thoughts. And literally everything in our lives comes down to mental programmings, including fear. And I'm not talking the fear that is fight or flight for your life when you're in actual extreme danger, because in those cases, fear's good. Fear's a good thing. It's not a bad thing all the time. But where fear's bad is when we're talking about those mental conditionings and programmings that start at a young age. Even most of our mental programs have been put into us from the time we're 0 to 7 years old. And so it's super ingrained into our conscious, and it makes it to where our thoughts are automatic. And sometimes we don't even realize where those thoughts are coming from. We just do, almost like when we're learning the ABCs, it's repeated and repeated and repeated. So then it just comes natural to us. We don't have to think about it. So we're operating on 90% of the time on this subconscious level of thought process. And so where that becomes a bad thing and keeps us stuck is a lot of our programs have been created through hearing things that people think we should be afraid of. So it limits us in our business lives, in pretty much any goal that we're wanting to accomplish. It takes and it strains relationships of all kinds and all levels. And so just think about that. And when you hear that word fear, what comes into your head when you're hearing that word? Because fear can mean a lot of things to a lot of different people. But what programmings do you find yourself operating on that keep you stuck when it comes to a job or a relationship or just taking action on any goal that you have in your life? What stops you? I know for me, a lot of times what I'll hear is, I'm not good enough, I don't matter enough, I'm not strong enough, I'm not pretty enough, I don't have the right training, I can't ask for a raise because my boss won't think that I deserve a raise. There's all kinds of things that we tell ourselves and we narrate to ourselves on a regular basis all the time, and those thoughts lead us into being stuck, and it creates this mental programming that causes us to not move forward in our life. And the other thing about fear that I want to present with you as well is the fact that when you're operating, aside from it leaving you stuck, fear is beatable, it's overcomable. What do you think is the defining difference between somebody who's successful and seems to have it all and somebody who isn't? It comes down to one thing. Fear's always going to be present, but it's how you yourself tackle that fear when it is there. Are you going to allow it to hold you back, or are you going to allow it to move you forward and propel you forward? So for instance, like when I was in my abusive relationship that I got out of 5 years ago, that took a lot. There was a lot of fear in there. I had to be certain on if I was going to be able to get out without having any more damage done to me physically than what had already been done to me, or if I would even be able to get away with my life, or if it would cost me my life leaving. I had to be worried about my children. But the thing is when you have the motivation and you have the right why, it doesn't matter where you're at in your life. You can do amazing, amazing things if you allow yourself find that big reason why. For me, it's my kids. It was my kids needing and deserving to have a healthy, stable life and environment and home, and not seeing their mom being beat up on all the time or yelled at or treated poorly. So for me, in everything that I do, including starting my businesses, writing my book that I wrote, all of that, my why starts right with my family and my kids, because they deserve me at my best. And they don't deserve anything less than me at my best. So fear is always going to be present, no matter what you're doing in life. There's always going to be instances where there's fear there, but it is beatable and you can move away from it. Some of the things that I personally do is I love journaling. I have what's called my happiness journal. In fact, this is my newest one right here. And so what a happiness journal is for me, when I take the time every night to go back through every single day, hour of my day, and I write down everything that I can think of that was good. And I don't allow myself in that happiness journal to write anything negative or anything bad that happens, because one, when you're doing things in life and you're taking risks and you're stepping out there, and let's face it, life is about risks. There's not ever going to be a time where there's not a risk to be taken. You're always taking a risk no matter what you do. But having the Grayson, please, sorry about that. The happiness journal, anyways, it gives you a record of all the different things that you've accomplished. So when you're feeling doubtful or you're feeling like you can't push back, this is one of the things that can be your motivator. You can go back and you have literally a diary of your accomplishments that you've had in your life. So that's one of the things that helped me. I started doing journaling even while I was in my bad relationship, before I moved out and moved away from that fear. The other thing is you have to understand your fears. You have to understand where they came from, how you got them, before you can change them. So when it takes getting to know yourself at your core level and learning what your core values, morals, ethics, and beliefs are. Because when you're trying to overcome fear, when it's showing its face to you, you have to be able to have a solid foundation of who you are built up underneath you, to be able to give you that support to build on, and to be able to take that risk and give you that encouragement. Another thing, when I'm feeling like I don't want to do something, or fear's trying to talk me out of doing something that I want to do, that I know can take me towards one of my goals, is that I will listen to a playlist of music. I'll put on some music and I'll start jamming out and dancing to it. And I'll get myself, it'll help me boost my mood up, so that way I start feeling invincible. And I got some great songs that make me feel invincible all the time. And so it's about finding that foundation and being able to build on it. And it takes you having to be honest with yourself too. You can't make excuses, and fear helps you create a whole bunch of them. And when you first start trying to change yourself and you start moving into a new direction, and you have those solid foundations set in front of you, and you've got a clear direction of where you want to go and what you're wanting to accomplish, then you're unstoppable, and you can let that be your fuel and your guide. You don't have to be stuck in fear and doubt with your life. You can move forward from it, and you can accomplish anything. But my thing is like I said, the first thing is you're going to want a solid foundation. None of this is going to do you any good if you're not willing to get to know who you are at a core level. Also, you're going to want to make sure that you're practicing and putting into practice every single day what you're wanting to accomplish. And 1% change. Don't overwhelm yourself. Don't make this big, huge list of goals of, oh my gosh, to get to where I want to be, I need to do this. You have your bigger goal, but you break it down into smaller ones, and every day just aim to be 1% better than the day that you were before. And it makes it a lot easier and less overwhelming, because everybody's always got, well, it's going to take me too much time. It's not going to work. I don't have the time. Well, we waste a lot of time sitting around on Facebook, on watching movies, on Netflix. There's lots of different things. And so when you want something bad enough and you've found your why, after you've built that solid foundation, then you need to find your why. Why do you want it? Why do you deserve it? And number 3, affirmations, or that nice trusty journal. Keep a journal, and train yourself to not, because it's about taking your old programs that are in your head and making them into new programs. And so you have to repeat every single day, just like when you were a kid and you were learning the ABCs. You've got to do it every day, repeat over and over every single day. And so with that being said, I want to be able to allow my guests to come on. So just give me one moment here, because I'm going to check and make sure that the person who's supposed to be on next has shown up. So just one moment here. Are you here, Angela? Are you here, Angela? Are you here, Angela? I know she was having some problems with her audio and her stuff. She notified me yesterday, so she might be a little stuck here. So just one moment. All right, so it looks like Angela was not able to make it on. So go ahead, and are you ready, Domasha?
Yes, I'm ready.
All right, let's give it over to you then.
Okay, am I introducing myself? You ready?
Yeah,
Okay.
I'm
Tell me
just
when to
trying.
go.
Go ahead, they can hear you. I'm just trying to get you on. There we go. We gotcha.
All right. Hey, everybody. It's Domasha. Excuse me for being in my car, but we're all on different time zones, but you still get the content. So, my piece of fear is first, I'm an educator, so I'm going to always educate a little bit. But fear is one of the most unpleasant feelings you can have. Fear of the unknown, fear of not feeling worthy, fear of not knowing the next step. No, like fear could really consume your life. It can consume your mind, your spirit, your body. But there are many ways to get out of fear. There are many ways to release that fear. And no, all of them are not easy because sometimes you have to talk to yourself. Sometimes when I'm afraid of things, I have to say to myself, like, is this reality or is this really going to happen? And we can think so far ahead that that's when fear becomes crippling. For instance, if you're going to a job interview and you're like, I give up, they're not going to hire me, I'm not going to show up to the job interview, I'm not going to try, I'm not going to dress up. That's fear of the unknown. You don't know what's going to happen. You don't know what's going to happen when you get there. You don't know what they're going to say, and they're probably most likely going to love you. But because our thoughts control us, they control us at that moment, we can't do what it is that we need to do. So one thing to ask yourself is, where is the fear coming from? Like, where is that fear coming from? Is this something that's within you? Is this something that has really happened? Or is this just something that's like, it's just in the air? You have to ask yourself where the fear comes from. Because if you don't do that, you will constantly go through life being afraid of things that haven't even happened yet. And I know it's easy to make up all these things in your head. You can have a whole span of events in 5 minutes. And I know I've done it before. None of that stuff has happened. It's just fear. It's only fear that's controlling you for that moment. And the next thing to do is know that every situation is not the same. I know that we have been through things in life. I know that people have been hurt. I have been hurt. But just because that one situation happened, it doesn't mean that it's going to continuously happen. Just because a situation looks like it's like a similar situation doesn't mean that the same outcome is going to happen. And so in that instance, you can't allow fear to stop you from your forward movement, because the whole thing is to be able to move forward in peace and happiness and joy. And that fear, it will get so deep down inside of you that you start to sabotage your whole life. You start to sabotage your blessings. You start to sabotage other people's blessings because you're in fear. And I know, like, the mind can be a tricky thing, but you have to ask yourself again the questions. Where is this fear coming from? And is this the same situation? And tell yourself instantly, no, it's not the same situation. Just because it looks like a duck doesn't mean it's always a duck. You got to get closer up on it to really see what it is. Because sometimes things look like something, but it's not. Then the last thing I wanted to bring was, understand that you are worthy. Because a lot of fear comes from that unworthy feeling. That feeling like, I don't know this, I'm not smart enough to do this, I don't have the ability to do this, I can't, I won't. These are the words that come up in your mind when you know it's fear. I won't, I can't, I shouldn't. If those words come up in your mind, instantly just stop. Just stop. Breathe, 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 and then say, where is this coming from? Where is this coming from? Why do I feel this way? Why am I thinking this way? We have to learn to control that. Because if you do not control that fear that's deep down inside of you, it will hinder you. You will miss things and opportunities that you should have been there. You should have been able to do it. And you have it inside of you. You have the ability inside of you. You have the strength inside of you. You have the power inside of you. But you allow that fear to captivate you and control you. Remember, you control you. You control your thoughts, your emotions. You control that part of you, not the emotions controlling you. Don't let anything stop you from your forward movement, whether it's forward in business, whether it's forward in exercise, whatever it's forward in, go forward. The simplest things. I'll tell you a situation in my life where I've been afraid. I've always wanted to be a motivational speaker. So I've always been afraid to get on videos or speak to people. And so I'm talking to someone, I'm like, I can't do that. I cannot speak to people. I cannot be on camera and not be able to see people's faces or their eyes, or I can't do that. I just cannot do it. Well, look at me now. Look at me now. And I go on live a lot, actually, in different places, but it took me a while to get to that place. But I've always been fearful of what people are going to think of me, what they're going to say of you. That was me feeling unworthy to show the world my abilities, to give my gift that I was given to share it with other people. And so I want you to be able to do that. So I want you to think about it again. Where does that feeling of fear come from? Exactly where? Know that every situation is not the same, and understand that you are worthy. No matter what, you are worthy. You are worthy of forward movement. You are worthy of life. You are worthy of peace in the mind. And when fear comes to attack you, don't let it. Just tell it no. No fear, no fear, no fear. None whatsoever. Fear will try to steal your destiny. And today, we're going to learn not to let fear steal our destiny. There are going to be so many speakers here, and they're going to have so many awesome things to say. Write them down, pay attention to them, keep them close to you. Do not let fear steal your destiny. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Domasha. That was wonderful. So keep
Welcome.
keep your guys' self in mind for what Domasha's message was for you. Don't let fear steal your destiny. And that is so incredibly empowering to hear. And it's so true, guys. So now everybody say thank you to Domasha for sharing with us. And Martin, you are ready to unmute and start your video again, and come ahead and come on in and tell everybody about yourself and share your lesson for today.
Okay, I'm going to be needing to share my screen here. Do I have that capability?
Yes, you should.
All right. Sure, I'm ready to go here. Okay, just give me a minute here. Got several screens up here. Almost there. There we go. Hello, everybody. Wednesday this past week, I was served notice that I was being sued. A little bit fearful, a little bit intimidating. I'll talk a little bit more about that later. To start off, I want to talk a little bit about what I defined fear is. So my definition of fear comes from the Merriam-Webster dictionary. It's actually a little bit of a modified definition from their medical definition that they have in there. And that is an unpleasant, often strong emotion caused by anticipation or awareness of danger, real or imagined, that's my added part, and accompanied by increased autonomic activity. That means your breathing might start to change, your heartbeat might change, maybe feel something in your stomach or your head or whatever. So that's my definition of fear. You know, one definition of fear that I've heard is an acronym for fear, which is false evidence appearing real. I don't really like that because a lot of times fear is real. It's real things out there. And one of the things that brings to my mind, if you've never seen the movie Chasing Mavericks, it's an awesome movie that talks about fear. I would highly recommend you read it. And they're swimming in this ocean, and all of a sudden, Jay and Frosty are the two main characters in there. They see this great white shark, and the one guy starts to freak out a little bit, and they make it back to the boat, okay, after seeing that great white shark. And Jay says, "Weren't you afraid?" And Frosty says, "Yeah, I was afraid." But this next line that he said, this is a quote from the movie. When it hit me, I'm like, wow, that is so true. It says, fear and panic are two separate emotions. Fear is healthy. Panic is deadly. See, we're born with an innate knowledge of fear. It's something that's put inside of us. But we also have to realize it's an emotion as well. It's something we can contain. It's something we can control. When we can't do that, then we're starting to have some issues. I want to compare two different hierarchies. One is Maslow's hierarchy of needs, and I think many of you are familiar with that. And so we have at the bottom level is the psychological needs. Then we have the safety needs, love and belonging, esteem, and then self-actualization. And the thing about Maslow's hierarchy of needs is that at the lower level, that's where you're at survival. At the higher level, now you're looking at what I'd like to call thrivival, where you're actually thriving. And not that this is opposed to those hierarchy of needs, but it's some of the things that you want to look at. And these were presented by Dr. Carl Albrecht in his book, Practical Intelligence, The Art and Science of Communication. The first one at the lower level is the fear of extinction, which is the fear of ceasing to be, meaning that you're afraid that when you pass away, you're gone. You haven't really left a mark in your world. Second level is mutilation, fear of loss of injury, mutilation, or loss of a body part, or even your whole body. The third level is loss of autonomy, where we are self-moving. You know, we are self-moving people and creatures, but losing that ability to do that, to have that freedom. Fourth level is a fear of abandonment, which is a fear, you know, we're socially wired. So losing that connectedness with other people. And the fifth level is ego death. And this is where I think a lot of people struggle. And, you know, this is a fear of failure, of ridicule, embarrassment, shame, guilt, rejection, dependency, or intimacy. And in my martial arts training, you know, I struggled with that early on. And you know, every time I would meet with my teacher, I was like, oh, man, I just can't do anything. I was always struggling. I couldn't even get past like a simple beginning thing. And then I read in a book one time, it came across to me this way. This isn't the quote, but it came across to me as, don't be afraid to lose. Because when I was afraid to lose, I was always fighting. And the more I was fighting him, the easier it was for him to do whatever he needed to me, to defeat me. When really I was defeating myself. But once I was willing to let go and not be afraid to lose, I was able to relax more and be able to handle what was coming at me. So don't be afraid to lose. I love this little saying, temet nosce, know yourself. Because a good place to start is to get to know yourself first, and then from there you can grow. So I liken this to like a target, but I don't really like a target. It's more of like a core within a core within a core within a core. And what I want to talk about this in these circles is that the white circles represents your circle of control. The bullseye, that dark circle on the inside, and everything outside the dark circle is outside of your control. When what's outside of your control starts to affect you, that's where it's really going to drive that ego. It's really going to drive, touch that fear of being a man, or that fear of loss of autonomy. There's things you just can't control. So I'm going to borrow a little bit in the next while from the 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. And the outer ring represents your body. The second ring represents your mind. The third ring represents your soul, which is your social emotional understanding and feelings. The fourth level is your spirit, your spiritual understanding, what's going on inside of you. But what I want you to understand is the bullseye, there's actually another dimension. We are multidimensional creatures. That bullseye right in the center, that has to become your anchor. So the question is, what is your inner anchor? It's a good question. And then you really have to do some soul searching. And you really have to say, well, is it me? Is me my anchor? I'm going to tell you, if you are your own anchor, it's going to be really hard for you. But I can't tell you exactly what it is. I can tell you what it is for me. And if you ever have a conversation about that, you're welcome to contact me by email. But you've got to find out what that inner anchor is, because once you know what that inner anchor is, it can never be taken away from you. And it's a great thing to have. It'll help keep you steady and help you steer your ship, the ship of your life. This has already been said, but you must believe in yourself. Why? At the very least, because I believe in you. I really, really do. I'm an educator as well. And there was a boy that came to my office one time, and I'm like, he was struggling he was like, I'm in here all the time. He's like, I'm just a bad kid. I'm like, no, you're not. So you struggle with some things, but you're not a bad kid. He's like, yes, I am. I'm right. He said, you just don't know me, Mr. Yoder. I'm like, I really believe you're a good kid, and I have confidence in you. You're going to get better. I ended up leaving that district, and it was a few years later that I found out that he committed suicide. And that was pretty hard, knowing that, as much as I tried to work with him and help him, that he didn't believe in himself. So many times I wish I could help everybody, but I can't. All I can do is say that I believe in you. I really do. I absolutely believe in you. And if there's anything I can do to help you, please make sure you contact me. Another thing that's very important is to get someone to partner with. Get a coach, get a mentor, get an accountability partner. I have a mentor myself that I'm working with and trying to grow through a number of things. And one thing I might want to say is that oftentimes it's easier to get a person who you're not normally acquainted with, like a friend or family member. It's somebody that's a little bit outside of that. It's just sometimes it's easier to get past the fear of opening up. But you need someone to be honest with you, to say, hey, your tag's out or your zipper's down. not afraid to say some of those things. One of the things that I said to my students one time, because I had a pair of pants that for some reason the zipper always seemed to come down. So I had to step over that embarrassment and say, look, I'm just warning you ahead of time. Sometimes my zipper on my pants falls down. If you see that, just say, hey, Mr. Yoder, your zipper's down. And so I got past that awkwardness, so that way they felt open to be able to communicate that to me. But you also need to have somebody that can see the true beauty inside of you and be real with you. And sometimes it's very difficult to find that type of person. But the key, no matter what, is you must move. But really move. Just watching this is not going to be good enough. Just listening to me or listening to any of these speakers is not going to be good enough. You've got to do something. Right or wrong, you've got to do something. Don't be afraid if it's the right thing. Don't be afraid if it's the wrong thing. See, the beautiful thing about making mistakes is that you learn from them. If you're learning from your mistakes, you're growing, and that's very important. You've got to be heading in that direction. You've got to acknowledge some things. First thing you have to acknowledge is that you have fear. It's there for a purpose. It's there to protect you. It is designed to hinder you, but you must control it. If you control it, it's called awareness, self-control, respect, courage. But if it controls you, it's foolishness, laziness, recklessness, demeaning, or even panic. Another thing you need to acknowledge is you cannot always be truthful with yourself. This is why you need somebody else that can hold the mirror up to you to show you what's real. You also have to acknowledge that you're egotistical. We've got an ego. We've got to be willing to let it go. Only then can you really relax and move forward. You need others to grow. You can't do this by yourself. We're not designed that way. You've got to find somebody else to help you grow. You also have to acknowledge awkwardness. Sometimes you're like, oh, I'm just going to be embarrassed, or I'm afraid to do this. My daughter just started dating, my oldest daughter, and my wife and I thought we were ready for it, but we had to have some conversations. Awkward, yes. Acknowledge it and get to it. That's the only way to get to that. And you must move. You've got to acknowledge you've got to move. No one else can do it for you. No one. Only you've got to have somebody else to help you grow to your fullest potential. One of the last things I want to tell you is you've got to make a plan, a life plan. Stephen Covey said, begin with the end in mind. How do you want your life to end up? The more you plan, the better you can handle whatever's going to come your way. I'm going to warn you, there are going to be things that you haven't planned for that are going to come your way. But if you've got a plan in mind, at least you've got some stepping stones to get to where you need to be. But always having that end in mind helps steer your ship where you want to go. So going back to the story that I opened up with, it all worked out. I talked to the person and it was dropped. So everything worked out. I was able to overcome that fear. And you can too. I believe in you and you can do it. Joyce, I'm turning it back over to you.
Wonderful presentation. Thank you so much, Martin. Guys, that was so insightful. Can everybody give Martin a thank you in the comments for his share? That was some very powerful information. And like Martin said, And like I said in the beginning, we've really gotta be able to put in the work. We can't not put in the effort and the work, guys. If we're not putting in that effort, then we're going to stagnate, and we're not going to get the results that we're looking for. We're going to stay continued in that cycle. And so one of the things that I want to ask you guys is, do you guys see yourself and notice you guys in a self-repeating patterns? What kind of self-repeating cycles do you see yourself in? What do you always want to achieve or tell yourself that you want to achieve, but you're struggling all the time and you feel like no matter what you do, you're getting the same result in the end? What are some of those things that you feel are holding you back? Because identifying those is going to be the start for you to understand what fears you have that are helping to keep you stuck. They're going to help you to start identifying your motivators and your demotivators, because identifying those things is paramount to being able to understand where your fears lie, why you have those fears in the first place, where they even came from. Some of us don't even know where they came from, you know, like a lot of us are burdened with fear of money. We fear like that we don't have enough. We fear that money, we're not meant to have money, stuff like that. So is there any parting thoughts that you have or questions that anybody has for for Martin or for Domasha today, or even for myself? Please let us know those questions in the chat, and as any of our speakers have the time and the opportunity to, then we'll get on there and we'll answer those questions for you guys. Also, Martin has in the posted a few worksheets for you guys and for homework for today, and I'm going to be posting mine here shortly for you guys on some things that I want you guys to think about that's going to help start getting you moving towards identifying where some of your core values and beliefs are, and start giving you some help with being able to start identifying where some of those fears might be and what some of those fears are for you guys, so that you guys can start understanding those. Because like I said, we got to build a solid foundation before anything is going to stick, and we've got to be able to understand ourselves. And a lot of us, we really don't understand ourselves. It takes a major trauma or shift that's happening in our lives before we start deciding to figure out who we are and getting clear on who we are. And when we're going through life without really much of a direction, then that makes it easier for us to fall prey to the fears that we have, and it keeps us stuck in those self-repeating patterns and loops that we want to get everybody out of and get them moving, whether it's something in your financial life, your personal life, whatever it is. We want to be able to get you guys moving more towards your dreams and being able to have the life that you guys deserve, the life that you guys were created to be able to have. And, you know, finding that anchor, find that why you want things. Because if you don't have that strong enough why, again, you're going to just keep falling back into those same patterns every single time. So I want to take this time to say thank you to all of you guys for joining us here today. And don't forget to log back on tomorrow. Share this with your friends. These videos will be up for people who missed them through the whole entire challenge. But then they're going to disappear after that. They're going to be gone. So make sure that you get a replay, share with your friends, because people need to be here. There's so much fear going on in the world right now, and there's so many unknowns. And together we can help each other to stay strong and stay accountable. And just like Martin said, you know, make sure you've got an accountability partner. Make sure you've got a coach, whether it's a coach like me or one of my speakers. Find a coach. It doesn't matter who it is. Just find yourselves a coach that you can relate to, that you can feel good speaking with and sharing and being personal with, because we need accountability too. It is super, super hard when you're going it alone. And I have accountability partners right here in this room. I myself, as a coach, have coaches. And I make it a point to always be learning. And that's another thing, is always be willing to learn. You've got to be able to be teachable, because if you're not teachable, then you're not going to get very good results out of coaching. But 100% invest in yourself and get you a coach to help you. They can help you set goals. They can help you get clear and focused on what it is that you're wanting to achieve, and they can keep you accountable and keep you on track so that you can ensure that you're getting the results that you want and that you want out of your life and for your life, and get you going on the right track. So again, thank you all for being here, and don't forget to look for your homework. That is up from Martin already, and mine will be up here shortly. And since Angela had some audio and technical problems that she notified me about that she wasn't able to get fixed, we will have her back here later on at the end of this challenge, so that she still gets her opportunity and time to share her story with you guys. And just be blessed, guys. Have a wonderful and blessed Sunday. And thank you so much, all of you. You guys are wonderful. And we got this. And we're gonna help you get it too. Okay. Love
Hey,
you guys
Joyce.
all.
Hey, Joyce.
Yes.
This is Marty. I did share that PowerPoint. I had it as a PDF. I did upload it to the Facebook page as well. So you guys are welcome to look at that and draw from that. It also should provide most of the answers to the worksheet that I had as well. So that way people can work through that.
Awesome. Wonderful. Thank you so much, Marty. And thank you, Domasha. And thank you to all our guests. And you guys have a blessed Sunday. And thank you so much for being here. Have a good day or evening, wherever everybody's timelines are, and we will see you again tomorrow.